All right, no time to explain, gang. Welcome back. KingXeph here, back with another video for you guys. Happy Wednesday, and yeah, I'm a little frustrated. So, as I mentioned up earlier in the videos, and actually this is essentially part 1.5 of my graded card challenge. For those that are new to this and haven't seen the previous video, I'll probably link it down in the description below. But essentially what I did was I'm essentially testing the best of PSA and Beckett. So I'm trying to do an experiment on what I think is the better grading company. Personally, I prefer Beckett over PSA for a couple of reasons. I'll go over those a little bit more again in the future, or if you want to watch the previous video to see what I was kind of doing, you can check that out as well. But essentially, I submitted cards to both PSA and Beckett. Beckett has a larger grading sample because there's a lot more cards I wanted to get graded through them, but essentially I sent the exact same 4 cards on both grading companies to each other. PSA, I used GameStop as in lieu of sending it strictly to PSA, and then of course Beckett, I had to ship it to Beckett. And I did this right before the new year kicked off. I shipped out to Beckett on the December 28th, and I also delivered them to GameStop on December 28th. So here's a little bit of a status update on that one, because none of the orders have come in through yet. So of course, as they come in, I will do those grade reviews, and then I'll do one video once both of them will come in and compare both of them side by side and what I thought of the verdict. But I've heard a lot, and this is not the first time I've done grading. I've graded through Beckett before. My first try at grading, I went through Beckett. I had also posted that video here on the channel in the past on what I sent out to get graded and what those grades were. Mostly they were my Enchanted Elsas, a Blue Eyes White Dragon, and a couple cards that, excuse me, didn't get graded. Oh, and a Magician of Bond and Unity. So Beckett and I have a little bit of beef, because Beckett's customer service, I actually finally ran into that issue where I actually ran into a customer service related issue with Beckett, is horrendous. Now, to throw them just an ounce of rope, here's how this whole thing happened. I shipped my cards out on December 28th, which was a Saturday. For the protection of my cards and everything, I sent it in through priority. So they came in and Beckett confirmed that they had them. I believe it was January 3rd. It was either January 2nd or 3rd. I was surprised how fast they checked them in. Actually, I can double check that date real quick, because I think I have the order posted on here of when they actually got there. No, they were received on the 30th. They got them 2 days later, which they should have got them through priority. But, oh, you know what? They checked them in. They've officially checked them in on the 3rd. I take that back. They got it on the 30th, but they officially said, hey, they had the cards, and they checked them in as of the 3rd of January. So, okay, I'm making sure I'm getting all of my dates and everything correctly. So, if you're new to grading, unlike PSA, so generally what PSA does is you submit your cards in, and then when they're done grading them, they will charge your account based on whether it followed the base price or whatever, the tier grading you got, or if there's upcharge and all that other stuff. Beckett, what they do is when you ship your cards out to them, so they initially invoice it, so you have an approximation of what you're going to pay. Or so like when you put your order in, they'll say with the shipping and everything and cost, your subtotal is, let's say, $145. Mine was $143.28. They do that. They check your cards in. They verify all of them, and I guess they make sure they base it based on your judge tier. Once they fully check them in, they will invoice it and say, okay, we can grade all of your cards. You submitted 10 cards. We can grade all your cards. Here is your invoice. When they produce that invoice is when they charge your card. So whatever card you put on file when you put that order in is when they charge you at that moment in time after your cards are checked in. Once that's paid, they go ahead and put your cards in the queue to get graded. And then once they get graded, they get slabbed. They get shipped back to you. Once you get the notification that they were graded, you can look at the pop reports and everything on that side and see your grades ahead of time. Or you can wait till they show up in the mail, and then of course they send you the tracking for that. So I had my card set up, and I was using one of my other transactional cards. I just made sure that there was enough money in there to handle that process so I can be over and done with it. I had to sit there waiting, chilling, of course, and I waited a week. And I waited another week. Still no charge on my card. So by the time some things came up, I was preparing to go to the Royal Rumble and everything else in between, and needed a couple more dollars and needed some gas stuff and had to take care of a couple family emergencies, so I needed to move some money around. So of course, at the time, I'm like, okay, Beckett hasn't charged my card yet. I can temporarily take money out of here, move it, and then put it back within the next couple days, and it shouldn't be a problem. The day after I did that, they try to charge the card. It fails. Okay, whatever, not a big deal. Put the money back in the card. I shot them an email. They said, hey, we need you to call this invoice and all this stuff. So I reach out to customer service. I reply back to that email saying, hey, recharge my card. It will go through this time. Not a problem. I get the automated reply back saying, hey, thank you for messaging us. We'll send an agent to deal with this transaction as soon as humanly possible. The last time this happened, when I reached out to them, a representative reached out to me and said, hey, I'm such and such. I'm a representative. I'm here to resolve any of your issues. In which case I sat back and said, hey, charge my card, or hey, whatever's going on, blah, 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 take care of this. And that person generally reached back out to me within the hour, maybe even a day. I get you have hundreds of submissions and everything and hundreds and thousands of orders coming in at a time. So maybe reaching out isn't the easiest thing to do in the world, but that's how that whole thing happens. This time I didn't get that. I waited for another week and then another week. And I'm like, can one of you guys please retry and charge my card? So that way my card's gonna get graded. And I'm getting emails back from them saying, hey, you have an invoice. Hey, you have an invoice. Please go online. Please go on and handle your invoice. There's not a way online in your order form because they don't actually send you a job ID with your order information until the invoice is paid. There is not a mechanism in your order history or your account to sit back and say, pay for this invoice. You have to essentially reach out to customer service and have them do it. So I reach out to support through the support channel, putting in a ticket saying, hey, this is what happened. My invoice number is this. I need you guys to charge my card so that way my order can go through. That's all I need you guys to do is just recharge the card that's on file and it'll go through and blah, 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 blah. Wait another week. Still nothing. I have not heard from customer service yet at all. Meanwhile, I'm continually getting these emails saying, hey, your invoice needs to be called. And I need to get this dealt with immediately because the last thing I want them to do, because this grade submission was on a promo from the holidays, because they were doing, I think, like 15 or 20% off. They were doing some percentage off for Christmas, for the Christmas grading season. So I don't want them to sit back and say, hey, we didn't receive your money. We're just going to send you your cards back and whatever. I want them to charge us. That didn't happen. So finally, after long and like almost a month, because I think they just charged my card like a week ago. It wasn't that long ago. After long ado, I broke down, and after putting in 3 support tickets, I tried to call them because there's a support number that you can call to reach out to them. Their call center literally goes, hey, press this number for grading. When you select the number for grading, it says reach out online and hangs up the phone. There is not a representative to talk to over the phone to deal with this type of issue. And this is the part that kind of just baffles me. So there's no way for me to go online and say, hey, pay for my invoice. I've reached out to you via the email saying, hey, my invoice didn't go through. I need to pay for it. I reached out to you guys saying, hey, charge the card. You sent back the automatic email saying you reach back out to me with a representative to take care of my issue. I put in 3 different service tickets to sit back and tell you guys, hey, charge my card, please, to take care of this invoice, and not gotten a single email back from anybody. And to this very day, I still have not gotten an email back. The only way I got my invoice paid is I broke down and went to Twitter. I'm not calling it the other name, it's still Twitter. I went to Twitter onto Beckett's Twitter page and messaged them and said, can somebody please charge my card for my invoice with this number? Because of course there was a little automatic checkpoint that says, hey, do you need assistance with something, with an order? And I'm like, yes. And it says, send the order number and the email address it's tied to. I send the order number, my email address, and says, can somebody please reach back out to me, charge my card to pay for this invoice, because I have not heard from anybody in a while. Meanwhile, the rope I'm going to throw them is because they just announced that they're opening up a facility for grading in Europe for the European grading market, so they don't have to ship it all the way to Texas and back and all that other fun stuff for international graders. Great for you guys. Cool. You have a closer grading facility. Top marks to you on that one, taking care of anybody in Europe. Deal with my issue as well. So I reached out to I reached out through Twitter. They said they replied back to me. Lo and behold, I think it was the day after, or it was either a day or 2 later, I get a tweet back in the message column saying, hey, we've ran your invoice, your card has been charged, your issue has been resolved. Then I get the email and the notification from my card saying it was charged for the invoice. So now I got put back in the queue. Beckett. You guys need to fix that. You need to fix your customer service. You need to either have agents that can pick up the phone and deal with this, or the easiest thing you can really do is allow people in their account so they can, when they look up their order history, and I can show you guys this real quick. Let me actually switch screens real quick so that way you can see what I'm talking about as soon as I can find my mouse, because it's seeing on a white screen. This is the order page on Beckett's website. This is essentially what it looks like. Down here, it shows my first order, which was my other thing. So like if I click on this, it shows my graded order. It gives me the tracking information, the date received, what type of shipping it was, and the ship date. So when they got my cards, when they sent them back, and the number of cards there were, along with the job number and how much I paid and all the other fun stuff. And then you can actually see your grades and everything here. So you guys can see the two Elsas, the Blue Eyes White Dragon, I got a 10, which I'm really happy about. And the Magician of Bonds Unity, I got a 9.5. If I go back, the top one is my current order. It's showing active, not shipped. And then I paid $143.28. Received date was December 29th. So if we go here, A cards received, none graded, ship date NA, because they have to grade the cards first. But essentially, it's on the base tier, which is 45 days. And then, of course, all the cards are shipped out. The Adidas Dark Magician, the Ankh Karibo, which is an OCG card. The Dark Magician Girl was an OCG card. This was one of the cards. I believe I sent this. The Blue Eyes White Dragon from History Archive Collection. And then the two Buckies. Those are the 4 cards I sent out to compare them with PSA. And then I also sent my Dragon Fire from the Lorcana Challenge, as well as another Blue Eyes White Dragon that looked really good in my OCG collection. See if I can get that graded too. So those are all the cards I shipped out to Beckett. But regardless, clearly none of these have been graded and everything. But from here, there should have been a mechanism for me to go say, hey, here is your invoice. Would you like to pay for it? And click on that one and process the payment. That way, I don't have to reach out to customer service to do this for me. I could have simply gone here, logged in, and says, hey, here's your order and your invoice that is unpaid. Click on the invoice, click pay for the invoice, and you can either run the card that you put on file, or you can enter in a different credit card if you have to put in a different credit card to run an invoice. So once it is paid, it can automatically be shuffled over into the progress side. That is as easy as it should be to do that. It should not have taken me almost a month of reaching out to you guys and not getting a single reply back from anybody until I reached out to Twitter. And fortunately, the Twitter customer support took care of this. I'm really glad they did. I'm actually shocked that Twitter actually got back to me faster than actually reaching out through the normal contact us mechanism. That needs to be fixed, and that needs to be resolved. Because to be honest, the more things that you allow customers to be able to easily go in and do without needing to reach out to you guys, the better, so that way things can be a lot smoother. And if there is a way to do that, you need to put that in the process and the facts and everything in between, because if there is a way to do this, there's nothing on here that allows me to see my invoices. I couldn't even pull that order information up until after it was paid. The only thing that showed up here was submission ID, invoice ID. The job number ID was basic NA with not a link. And then it basically just showed, you know, active and blah, 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 blah. It didn't show anything else. There was not a way for me to click on this thing and even look at my order. It just showed me what my information was on that side, and there was nothing I could do about taking care of and paying for that stuff. So if there's a way to do that, put it in your facts, make a video about it, make an announcement, or just make a way. That's all that really needs to be done. That could have rectified this whole issue from top to bottom. Just allow me to go in and say, hey, run my invoice, problem solved, and I wouldn't have to worry about this. Now, to PSA's advantage, I went through GameStop for PSA, and I've heard nothing but good things. PSA has like progress bars and everything in between here. So I'm going to open up my GameStop order real quick. Here's my GameStop stuff. Here, through GameStop, I'm going to see if I can zoom in on this. Where is my zoom? There we go. I'm going to zoom in on this. So they gave a status bar of this. They show when the order was created. So clearly the order date, like I said, December 28th. They gave you a status bar, said order created. Then they gave you a bar for ship to PSA. And then they have this 5-step process for PSA received. And as we say, my current status is at graded. And then it'll go to ready to be picked up and then picked up status. And then I can see my graded cards right here. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to see the grades until they come back. So, and then the 5 steps here are PSA received. It arrived. PSA did the research and ID. They do the grading. They assemble it in the slabs. They do the QA. And then once all of that's done, it gets dumped to the graded category, which they report the grades. And then, of course, they ship them back and then all that other stuff. And then I pick it up. So kudos to PSA, because essentially this process is exactly kind of how it is on the website. Here's my beef with this, and this is not PSA's fault. This is GameStop's fault for this one. So I'm not going to give PSA any slack for this one, because PSA is actually doing what they're supposed to be doing, and all their mechanisms are done properly. But here's what happened to this, and this is what making this order that much more funny. GameStop, although they're taking care of this, and I appreciate them for taking care of this, and they actually have plans and mechanisms for things like this to happen. The GameStop I submitted my cards to, which was my regularly local GameStop, which I go to all the time. I've been going to this one GameStop for over a decade. How long I've been going? I've been going there since college and everything in between. So I would probably guess I've been going to the Highland, Indiana GameStop since 2010. I'm just going to take a shot in the dark. I'm going to say 2010, because fortunately there was always a GameStop nearby. At one point there was a GameStop like 5 minutes from the house. That one closed. And then Highland, and then there was also the one in Hammond, because I went to school in Hammond. So the Hammond one was the closest one, but after a while the Hammond one was kind of iffy, so I always went to Highland. And I had friends that worked there, and they ran the Highland store, so I always followed them and all that other stuff to support them and make sure that business. But that's always been my store. Submitted the cards on December 28th. I got a email notification like 2 weeks later that GameStop closed. I don't know what happened. I don't know why. I don't know how, but I got an email saying it closed, and I was just like, why are you sending me an email saying that the store is closed? It's closed early today or whatever. I'm thinking I had to order something ready to go there. I looked on the website and it was marked closed every day of the week. So then I go online. I'm like, why is it showing closed? And it turns out they closed down that GameStop. I drove there later after I got off work to that location. The sign was off the building. The store was completely empty. And there was a piece of paper on the door saying, this store is closed. Thank you for your patronage. They literally shut down that GameStop. So now I'm like, where do I go to pick my cards up? Because the store I submitted to, the store I would also pick them up for, is now closed. Fortunately, they did move my order to be picked up at a neighboring store. Not really neighboring, it's about 30 minutes away. I think it's the closest store that does TCG grading from me, but it is getting moved to another store for me to pick up. But my debacle with that one was, I literally sent my cards into one store, that store closed, and now I have to go to a further store to pick them up when they show up. This is not a PSA related issue, it's a GameStop related issue. It is being taken care of, but this is just the random drama. And like for my first PSA experience, at least in terms of the timing of the grading and everything, that part is working fine. But in a sense, it's kind of making me regret not going directly through PSA for this, because it would have probably been much easier just to ship it to PSA myself and have them ship it back. The problem though is it's cheaper for me to get it through GameStop than it is to get it through PSA, because PSA just recently upped their prices. I think it went up. I think bulk submissions now for TCG products are like 19 bucks now. It was around that territory, as opposed to where it was, I think it was 15 originally. But you'll have to keep in mind is that the large bulk submissions, you have to submit so many cards, and you also have to be a PSA member, which means you have to pay for, I think, that $150 or $200 a year membership to get that pricing. Otherwise, you have to essentially pay, I think they have a non-membership bulk price, which is the same $19, but you have to submit, I think, a minimum of 10 or 15 cards to do that one. Otherwise, you have to pay, what is it, like 20 or 25 bucks, and they just upped the price again. So in terms of price and value, you're paying more now. So if I would have submitted it through PSA, I would have spent probably an additional 15, 20 bucks for the 4 cards I shipped out to send them directly to PSA that way, which realistically speaking, if I would have spent another 15 or 20 bucks, I would have been better off sending them to Beckett to get another card graded, because Beckett doesn't upcharge you, and they only charge you based on how much your time is, and their base price was 18 bucks. So on the size of the value proposition point, Beckett is going to win that one for the time being until Beckett decides to raise their prices. I don't know if they're going to or not, but with PSA upping their prices of that one and making it a little bit more trickier is already making it less likely for me to do it. Right now, the best bet if you want to save the most amount of money through PSA grading is to do it through GameStop, because GameStop is still only charging you sub they're charging you the bulk pricing of it, so you pay the 18 bucks for it, and they give you free shipping if you're a pro membership. So if you're a pro member, you don't have to pay the shipping charge, you just pay for the grades. And then of course, if the card is valued above, I think is $200 is the base, it might be two, or it might be three, or it's between $200 and $500. I think it's $200. If the card is valued over $200, then they will send you, then they will deal with the upcharge at the GameStop stores. Very similar to how PSA would do it through their own website, unless you paid for the higher tier grading speed, which will also cover the value proposition of that one. All in all, that was the update to my whole little grading debacle. Like I said, PSA is probably going to come in first, because PSA has already let me know that the cards have been graded and are being in the process of being shipped back. I don't know how long it's going to be. It might be a week, it might be two. So more than likely, they will be seeing another update video within the next couple weeks of what the PSA grades were, while I also wait for Beckett, because when Beckett tells me that they're done, they'll ship those out, and then I'll let you know on that side, and then we'll compare both of them. But so far, this whole grading experience, compared to the first time I did this, which is through Beckett exclusively, has been a headache. It has been a pain in the butt. It has been kind of miserable. Literally, what could go wrong did go wrong. I had to deal with not getting a customer service related thing from Beckett, all the way to my local GameStop physically closing down, and now having to travel to another store to get my cards when they show up. It's stressful. It's a little bit stressful. Fortunately, the whole grading process with PSA has been smooth. It has been pretty much as anticipated and as advertised previously, from what I've seen from other people doing grading and everything else in between on that side. I just need to see what the grades are. And of course, I think GameStop they do take trade-ins on PSA grades, but I think it has to be an 8 or higher. So anything below an 8, they won't take. I'm hoping to get some 9s, maybe at least 110, but I don't know. PSA is a little picky. And they're a little weird with their grading process. One advantage I love about Beckett is that if I get a low grade in Beckett, at least they'll tell me the grades of each category, so I can see where they dinged it, and I can potentially either contest it or confirm it. But that's just the difference between the two grading companies. But I digress. My rant is over. I will see you guys again very, very soon. I will be doing Blister versus Boosters. You'll be seeing that video post up later in the week. And then, of course, you'll be getting another update when my PSA order comes in, and then when my Beckett one comes in. I don't predict Beckett will probably come in for at least another month, considering the fact that just got paid last week. And I don't know when the 45-day clock starts. I think it's when the moment it's paid for, potentially. But I might be mistaken. I don't know when that 45-day clock starts. I don't know if it activates from the moment it's checked in or from the moment it's paid. It's one of those two things. If it's from the moment it's paid, then we won't see it. Well, my first grading submission came back before the 45 days was up. It took, I think, about 30 business days. So if it's similar to that, then I'll probably see it sooner than I think. It'll probably be sometime mid-March at the earliest. If not, it'll probably be early April. That's when I'm projecting Beckett to come back. PSA, I'm probably projecting, since those cards have been graded and they just have to be shipped back to the GameStop store, I predict that those will probably be here within the next week or two. I'm putting it around 2 weeks, so maybe about the end of February, you'll probably see the PSA grades come through, and we can review those on the channel together. But that's my rant. If you guys have horror stories or you have experience with grading companies, please let me know in the comments. Tell me how you would react on that side. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell, so that way when we get to the grades themselves, you can see them. There is another grading company. Well, there's two grading companies I would like to try. One of them I can't, because they're in Japan and they're exclusive to Japan. So I have to ship my cards out to somebody that lives in Japan and have them do it and ship it back. That's a lot of effort. I'm just not even going to bother with that one. But there was another grading company that I've been seeing advertised. I'm probably going to try them out. They're called Tag. The downside is they don't do Yu-Gi-Oh yet. I think they only do Magic, Lorcana, Pokemon, and then like a couple other random TCGs. I think they do like a lot of like the standard size TCG card stuff. So like Pokemon, Lorcana, Magic the Gathering, One Piece, those type of TCGs. That would be a good time to probably grade something from Union Arena. I do have a promo card from Union Arena I could get graded. I might try it out on that one. We'll see about that one. But if they start doing Yu-Gi-Oh, I'll probably give them a shot as well. Their slabs and everything look pretty cool from the website, how they posted it, and from the advertisements, and they seem very reasonably priced. They're very comparable to Beckett. So something I kind of want to give a try and see how that whole thing works out. But I need some other cards to grade for that side. And until they start grading Yu-Gi-Oh, I won't be able to do any Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And I don't have any really Lorcana cards I want to ship out to get graded by them. So we will see. I'll figure that whole thing out when the time comes. But like I said, like, comment, and subscribe on the video. Tell me some of your horror stories and grading, and tell me what you guys think. And tell me what you think some of the cards, because I know I showed them all off. Tell me what grades you think are going to come back from all of those cards. And let's play the gambling game of how good or bad the grades are, how accurate you guys are. I would love for you guys to just give me your best guess on the grades for those. So check that out and then let me know in the comments, and then I can probably gauge who's right and who's wrong. And who knows, you might win something. I have a couple things I can give away for you guys for anybody that either gets the correct answer or comes close to it. But in the meantime, thanks for listening to my rant. Thanks for listening to the update. We'll be back for Blizzard versus Boosters at the end of the week, and then we'll be back for an update on the grades as they slowly come in. So this is KingXeph. No time to explain. Until next time, I'm out. Peace.